The most powerful weapon in the United States military arsenal is not a nuclear missile or a stealth bomber. It is a green piece of paper that everyone in the world is forced to use. If you have ever wondered why the US dollar remains the undisputed king of global trade, despite the country being $34 trillion in debt, the answer lies in a secret agreement signed in a hotel room over 50 years ago. While the world was reeling from the collapse of the gold standard, a new, invisible foundation was being laid, one that would tie the lifeblood of the global economy directly to the survival of the American banking system. We are not living in a free market. We are living in a mandatory energy monopoly that is only now beginning to fracture. By 1973, the American economy was in a death spiral. Richard Nixon had severed the dollar's link to gold 2 years prior, and inflation was exploding. To make matters worse, the Arab oil embargo had sent energy prices soaring, threatening to bankrupt the West. The dollar was losing its value and its credibility on the world stage. In a desperate bid to save the empire, Nixon dispatched his Treasury Secretary, William Simon, to Saudi Arabia with a proposal that would change the course of history. The deal was simple. The United States would provide the Saudi kingdom with military protection and high-tech weaponry, and in exchange, the Saudis would price every barrel of their oil exclusively in US dollars. This was the birth of the petrodollar, a mechanism of infinite demand that forced every nation on earth to accumulate US dollars just to keep their lights on. If Germany wanted to buy oil from Saudi Arabia, they couldn't use marks. They had to buy dollars first. This created a permanent, global artificial demand for American currency, allowing the U.S. government to print money and export its inflation to the rest of the world. But there was a second, more sinister part of the deal known as petrodollar recycling. The Saudi kingdom agreed to take the billions of dollars they earned from oil sales and plow them back into the U.S. financial system by purchasing used treasury bonds. The world's energy profits became the engine that financed American debt. The mechanism of the petrodollar turned the world into a debt-slave colony. Because oil is the fundamental input for almost everything from food production to transportation, the entire planet was effectively paying a hidden tax to Washington. This system gave the U.S. the exorbitant privilege of running massive deficits without consequences. If any leader dared to challenge this arrangement, the consequences were swift and brutal. From Saddam Hussein's move to sell oil in euros to Muammar Gaddafi's plan for a gold-backed African dinar. History shows that any attempt to bypass the dollar-oil link is treated as an act of war. The SWIFT system and the global banking network became the enforcement arm of a deal that was never written into any official treaty. We are now witnessing the terminal phase of this 50-year arrangement. The rise of the BRICS nations and Saudi Arabia as recent signals that they are open to trading oil in other currencies, like the Chinese yuan, represent the greatest threat to American hegemony in history. When the petrodollar dies, the exorbitant privilege ends, and the decades of exported inflation will come rushing back to the shores of the United States. To survive this transition, you must recognize that a currency backed by debt and forced demand is a failing asset. The only logical defense is to return to value that exists outside the permission of the state. This means securing assets that have intrinsic energy value or historical permanence, land, gold, and decentralized digital scarcity. The secret pact of 1974 is expiring, and the world is about to remember what real money looks like.